All right, everyone, we have to put the inflation thing to bed finally. And I want to do it in a very specific, very direct way with literally one chart. And when we look at this one chart, it's really going to tell us everything we need to know. So stick around and we'll jump into that. Hey everybody, this is RC Peck with Fearless Wealth, and I want to literally look at one price chart today. Okay, don't believe that because we'll probably look at a couple more, but I want to talk about one idea, and that is really how to get clarity when you have a lot of information coming at you. And the vehicle we're going to use today is inflation. Is it real? Is it happening? Is it not happening? What should you look at? What should you not look at? And regardless of your age, it matters because what I'm going to show you is going to help you really filter out all the noise. That's what this is really about. How to filter out the noise, how to use price, how to find strength, and how to find the signal. So let's jump over to the price charts and we're going to look at this whole inflation thing. We'll start with one price chart and we'll see where that goes. Okay. So this is TLT. It's the iShares 20-year Treasury bond ETF. Woo. Okay, and this is 3.5-year time range. And I've talked about this before, this price chart, and I've talked specifically about this $140 range that you can see on the price chart. I said, look, if TLT does not get above 140, well, first of all, if it does get above 140, there's a couple of things. One, if you're a trader, only buy it if it gets above 140. So for a short-term trade, you can buy that or the zero coupon bonds or a leverage plan. So that's one thing. The second thing is if TLT does break above and stay above 140, we're probably not going to have inflation in interest rates, right? Because when you look at the screen here, when that black line goes higher, interest rates go lower. So that black line did break TLT, the price chart of TLT, broke above 140. If that stays above 140, we're not going to have interest rate inflation. And I want you to hear that specifically because when someone says inflation, like, what does that mean? Like, you don't go buy inflation. It's right. It's like, okay, if you own the stock market and it goes up, you don't call that inflationary. You call that asset appreciation or good performance. All right. If your house goes up in price and you own the house, you don't call that inflationary. You call that a happy, piece of data. It's great to have your house go up 25% in 1 year, which is what I believe the housing market did May to May this past year, which is pretty incredible. But if you own the house, and about 2/3 of people in the United States do own their house, that's not inflationary. It is if you're looking, right? Not if you're just the other third that doesn't, but the other third that doesn't, and then the ones that are looking. It's only inflationary for them. But this is what we're talking about, just inflationary with interest rates. And with TLT above 140, we're not going to see any inflation. Now, here's the kind of the good takeaways. One, understand what to look at, what price chart to look at, and how to look at it to see like, okay, if it's above this, potentially inflation, because we're talking about inflation. But if it's below this number, there's no inflation, regardless of what you hear about CPI, CPE, CP, any of the C's that have to do with inflation. It kind of doesn't matter. Plus, we all have different inflation rates, right? So if you have medical issues and you don't have really good insurance, that's going to create some sort of inflation for you. If you have college-age kids that are going to college, you are going to be in a very inflationary world for however long they're in school. So inflation is a very personal thing. But with interest rates right now, there is no inflation happening. It was kind of happening. Let's just call it, I'm just looking at the screen here. Let's call it, August 1st of 2020 to, we now know in hindsight, to March 18th. So that, what is that, 9 months? There was a lot of reason to believe that rates were going higher, but it stopped. Now I'll jump over to rates and I'll actually just show rates and I'll just show you what rates are doing here. So this is an actual chart of the yield of the 10-year Treasury. And for fun, let me just zoom way the heck back. So this is the yield chart, and no one really says yield chart, but that's actually what it is. Here we go. If this black line can stay above that blue range, then we're just going to be back into something called, just call it inflation. Not inflation, not hyperinflation, but really anything between 1.5 and 3%. It's just normal. There's really no news. You can see on the screen that it absolutely dropped and collapsed below that 1.5. And that 1.5, it's really a range between 1.4% and 1.5%. So we don't know yet if the yield is going to dip below 1.4, but that's really the go, no go. That 1.4 to 1.5%. This is the yield on the US the 10-year Treasury. So we don't see any of that here. It doesn't mean TIPS, inflation-protected treasuries, will not go higher. I'm just specifically talking about just this general idea that inflation's taking over the world. So far, it's not. Now, commodities are moving higher. If you look at DBC here, DBC is a tracking symbol that tracks the commodity complex. This is inflationary, right? Because if this black line goes higher, and if you look at the screen, anything above $18 on DBC, let's just take the word inflation out, but that means commodities are moving higher. I know we had lumber. I know we had lumber do some crazy stuff. Let me just pull up lumber. I know we had that. Lumber was never talked about. You never heard about the price of lumber. Many people didn't even think there was a commodity called lumber. We know there's timber, which is trees, but lumber is the cut wood. And you can see on the screen that lumber's prices have actually been going up, generally speaking, since '09. And we had a spike, and it actually just broke below kind of a major support resistance area. But lumber's one thing. Anyone building a house or wanting to build a fence or use anything with lumber, they're pretty happy about this, but it's one thing, and that looks like that is finished. So let's pull this together and talk about where we are. Okay. The second half of 2021 has started already. I'm filming this on Friday. I think it's the 1st today. Maybe it's the 2nd. My brain is literally fried. There's so much going on with my parents' health. I'm forgetting. Days are turning into hours. But we're in the second half of the year. Inflation will be talked about less and less and less. But when you do hear about it, get trained to look at the right price chart, find the right signal, and look for the right strength. Because when you have those three things, understanding how to read a price chart, understanding where the strength and weakness is and where the signals are, the type of peace of mind and quality of life that comes over your body and your spouse and your household is pretty remarkable. Like, you can remark about it. You can remark about it to yourself. So thanks, guys, for being in my world. If you like this, click the like button, the bell, whatever YouTube wants. Love to grow the channel. I'm not sure whether it will or will not happen. But I've been putting videos on for 15 years. Truth, I know. Thank you for being in my world. I appreciate that. If you like this video and you like these ideas, check out Clarity and Control, my free course. It is actually free. You can check it out in the description. Okay, thanks, guys. See you in the next video.